Cautionary tales are so important. These women share their stories with us, and we're fortunate that they will do that because you can see the red flags that they missed or the mistakes that they made, and you can avoid these mistakes, these manipulation tactics, or whatnot. And this woman jumped into my Reddit inbox because I asked, did anybody have any hobosexual tales that they wanted to share? Because I will continue to say, just say no to hobosexuals. It is hobosexual season. And if you get connected with one of these people, it can really jack you up financially. They can harm you physically, emotionally, whatever, but they certainly can jack you up financially because they see you, they attach to you, and they want to suck you dry of your time, energy, and resources. I'm starting at the end of her story because it's just a reminder that not everybody has a community or a mother figure or an auntie figure or a big sister or somebody that puts them up on game and manipulation tactics and red flags. And she said to me at the end of her story, to be honest, I really wish I had had something like your community or any feedback at all during all of this. I appreciate what you do and I truly enjoy your channel. Thanks for listening. All right, now let's let's start up with her story. I had to come back to the beginning of this video and give a trigger warning. There is SA and grape in this story. So I'm just putting that out there just in case you need to swipe away. She says, hi, Burb. I saw your post on YouTube asking for hobosexual stories, and I've got one for you. It's a bit long. A freaking lot happened over what was a 3-year relationship. She says, my mom died in 2011 when I was 36. I had been her only caregiver for much of my life. I was an only child and she was a single parent. We were very close in ways that, looking back, were not always healthy. I didn't really break out into the world on my own until I was 30, so I was still learning a lot about life, independence, and relationships. After dealing with my grief, I lost my job. I was in sales and simply could not focus the way I needed to. Not long after that, I met W through an online dating app. His profile was very appealing. He described himself as attractive and accomplished, a film graduate, a writer, musically inclined, and even a former model. His photo matched that image, and I was excited to meet him. At the same time, I was footloose and fancy-free in some ways, but also completely vulnerable and absolutely should not have been considering a relationship. We met for coffee one morning, and the person who showed up was not the person from the profile. He had gained weight since the photo was taken. He wore dirty dress slacks that were too big, a graphic t-shirt, and a dress shirt thrown over it. I later learned this was his uniform. The dress shirt was meant to make the outfit look classy. Seriously. I'm going to pause right here and put a trigger warning here. As I was reading through this, I see that this woman was actually SA'd or graped in this paragraph. So I'm just saying that right now, because if that's too sensitive of a topic, I completely understand. I just started reading through it and I'm like, oh, let me pull back. She says, under normal circumstances, I would have ended it right there at coffee, but I was lonely and had time to burn. We ended up spending the entire day together and made plans to meet again the next night for dinner at my place. He showed up and brought a movie. We never watched it. I made it very clear that I didn't want to do anything more than make out. At some point during the evening, and I honestly can't even remember how we got there, I was on the floor and he was coming towards me. I knew that no was not going to be an option. So I said yes so that I could have at least some control in the situation. I tried to convince myself afterwards that I was wrong, that he wouldn't really do something like that, and that I was fooling myself. The next morning when he left, he told me he loved me. That was a major red flag, and I knew it even in the moment. He didn't shower or brush his teeth. He went to work in the same clothes he had worn the night before. I went back to bed and woke up around midday, wondering if it had all just been a dream. Then he got off work and called me. We spent nearly every day together in those first few weeks. More red flags that I ignored. He was living with his mother because his ex-fiance had thrown him out. Since that relationship ended, he had dated at least 2 people that I knew of, a coworker, and then the fiance of his best friend who had self-deleted. He hadn't seen his best friend in years, but he slept with the fiance the night of the funeral. I eventually met her because he had somehow talked her into putting him on her phone plan, and she needed him to reimburse her and transfer the phone into his name. I also learned that he had 2 ex-wives. He moved to San Diego to live with the most recent one, who later divorced him and kicked him out, something that became a pattern. His first wife was a young woman from a foreign country that this woman asked me to blank out. All right, so she's from a different country who had converted to the LDS church. They met in Utah. She asked me to blank out the city as well. So this woman came to the United States, converted to the LDS church. While engaged, they decided to try soaking, the practice where the man inserts himself, but he doesn't move, as a way to technically avoid sex. When she asked him what the difference was between what they were doing and actual sex, he decided to show her. In other words, he raped her. I believe this story is true because he showed me photos of their wedding. She had tried to take herself out the night before, but her parents forced her to go through with the marriage. In every single photo, she was crying, barely able to stand upright, and visibly distraught. In every single photo, W was gritting from ear to ear, completely lacking empathy. He actually complained to me about how miserable she looked. I was aghast at both the story and the photos. I hate to admit that even knowing all this, I continued the relationship. I told myself it was in the past. I had been raised to believe that once you are in a relationship, you do whatever it takes to make it work. I was raised LDS as well, though I had left the church. The idea of pushing through and making things work was still deeply ingrained in me. Our first year together was pretty good. He paid half the bills. I eventually went back to work, though I sacrificed a long-standing plan to move to Oregon because he told me he could not handle a long-distance relationship. Going into our second year together, we both contracted whooping cough. I recovered and returned to work. He did not. He had been working at a call center, and after being sick, he claimed he had no voice. He went on FMLA and short-term disability. This went on for a year while he attempted to write the great American novel, played video games all day, watched Korn, and who knows what else. He had always been fairly good about doing dishes and laundry, and since he was home full-time, I hoped he would take on more responsibility around the house. He did not. Even though he was home all day, he wouldn't take the dog out. When she had accidents, he would leave them there all day for me to clean when I got home from work, claiming his gag reflex was too sensitive. He did clean it up twice during that time, and I will give credit where it's due, but if I came home exhausted and didn't notice immediately, he would throw a pouty fit and scream at the top of his lungs about how unappreciative I was. FMLA lasted a year, but he claimed his voice was still too weak to return to work. It sounded fine to me. Anytime I asked him to look for another job or go back to work, he accused me of wanting him to self-delete. I eventually went with him to one of his doctor's appointments and realized he was faking his symptoms and using his acting skills. I have no idea how the doctor fell for it. His throat was clearly not inflamed, but she kept approving him. I didn't say anything because we needed the income. FMLA turned into unemployment. Again, anytime I asked him to help or contribute more, he threw a fit. He felt it was unfair that he should have to pay half the rent and utilities since he was making less than before, despite the fact that he had always made less than me, even when I was unemployed. Somehow I ended up paying all the rent, his car payment, food, and outings while he covered the utilities. We were barely making it on my income and eventually had to start selling belongings. He finally finished his book and self-published it instead of seeking a publisher. No one read it. I was put in the awkward position of being asked to read it and give him my honest opinion. This was someone who got angry if he lost at Monopoly or Uno. I started reading and realized it just wasn't good. I couldn't bring myself to lie, so I stopped reading it altogether. He was furious and accused me of not supporting him because I wouldn't tell him it was amazing. There were many arguments during our relationship. I remember one where he faked passing out and lay on the living room floor moaning for an hour until I came to check on him. He wasn't a very good actor. There were times I told him he needed to leave. He would refuse and say he had no reason to. I would remind him that the apartment was in my name. He would then love bomb me and physically prevent me from leaving the room until we made up. He also became violently angry over trivial things. Once, he insisted Kim Kardashian had never been married before Kanye West. When I looked it up and showed him he was wrong, he lost his mind, screaming about how I should just take his word for things. Another time he left his phone in his pocket in the pocket of his pants on the floor. I stepped on it. I was forced to buy him a new phone because it was my fault for not knowing it was there. Toward the end, I started wondering if I had something like Stockholm Syndrome. At one point, he admitted that after our first night together, he worried I wouldn't speak to him again because he believed he had forced me. Hearing that confirmation broke me. I cried constantly throughout that relationship. Eventually, he got a job at an insurance agency making $10 an hour, less than he had been making on unemployment, but it had run out. Around the same time, I landed a job making significantly more money. He was thrilled. He told me he would never have to work again. I told him that was absolutely unacceptable. Not long after, I began noticing more things. He turned his computer away from me when we sat together so I couldn't see the screen. He took phone calls outside. When I went to pick him up from work, a 20-minute drive across the valley, he sometimes wouldn't be there and wouldn't answer his phone. The final incident happened when we went out to a movie. When he went out to a movie and didn't come home for hours. I started to wonder if I misunderstood when it ended, so I called the theater. The movie had ended 3 hours earlier. When he finally came home, I confronted him. I had already told him that I wasn't sure I wanted to be in the relationship anymore. That night, he made the decision for me. He broke up with me in the most brutal way possible, listing everything he believed was wrong with me and emotionally tearing me apart. The audacity of this next sentence that's coming. Then he fully expected to continue living in my home. I told him no and told him to call his father. He wasn't speaking to his mother, and I knew his stepmother, whom I had never met in 3 years, would not take him in. His father paid for a hotel for 3 nights. We agreed that I could use his car temporarily while mine was being repaired, since he could bus to work and I could not. I was also a co-signer on that car loan, something I never wanted to do but felt pressured into. I dropped him off at the hotel and he asked me if I wanted a hug. I told him absolutely not. When I got home, I was emotionally raw, but I also felt an enormous weight lift. He was gone. Later, I had to declare bankruptcy because of that car. After we broke up, he stopped making payments entirely. He ended up over $4,000 behind, and the repo company began calling me, asking where the vehicle was. Eventually, he found another person to latch onto. She paid to fly him to Broadway shows and funded a month-long European honeymoon. As for me, I have never really wanted to date again. I tried a little here and there, but I've been extremely cautious, turning down most offers and not trusting men. Would I consider a relationship again? It's been 10 years, maybe, but it would have to be with someone who is genuinely emotionally healthy and willing to be a true partner, not a parasite. So that is the end of the story. As I was reading through this story, there were so many red flags that she missed. And like she said, she was an only child to a single parent and had not ventured out until she was 30. She was very naive and didn't know and understand things. That happens. But the thing is, she was grieving. She was grieving the loss of her mother. She was lonely. She needed someone to talk to. And she was not in a good state of mind to be dating. So that was an issue. Do not... These people know how to latch on. They know how to say the right things to comfort someone in that moment. He was love bombing her. He was a liar. He showed up. He didn't look like her picture. But the thing is, instead of instead of calling him out on being a liar. She does what women tend to do. She placates. She sits there. She swallows her feelings. She says nothing. This is the reason why we need to have these conversations. This is the reason why I do the nightmare dating profile videos, because these dudes are out of pocket. This dude showed up overweight, disheveled, wearing dirty clothes, and then he SAs her. And then she still takes his phone call. We have got to have a sense of self-preservation. I am not here to beat up on this lady. She has been through enough. This has been more than 10 years ago. So she's definitely learned from this. But I want us to learn from her mistakes so that you don't repeat where she went wrong. Don't meet up for these low effort dates. When someone shows that they are a liar by showing up and not looking anything like their photos, leave those people alone. If they're going to lie at the very beginning, they can continue to lie throughout because they are liars. This dude was a walking red flag, getting kicked out by his fiance. He has 2 ex-wives. He's sleeping with the fiance of a dead friend. This dude was just using his peen as an in to get in close with these women. So start noticing patterns. Let these people talk. He love bombed her and said he loved her after the first night. That is a red flag. You cannot love somebody after one night. Please don't listen to these people. Because what the heck is that even? And then trust your gut and don't be so desperate for validation or a relationship or anything that you can hear these atrocious things from a person and continue on talking with them. Be okay with leaving these people alone. All right, y'all. Whatever else you noticed as I was reading through this story, please drop it in the comments so that we can continue to have these conversations about boundaries, love bombing, hobosexuals. She moved this hobosexual in. He was a parasite on her. He drained her and jacked up her credit. We got to know and understand that these hobosexuals will ruin you. They can ruin you for a long time. Hopefully this woman has been able to bounce back, but sometimes you won't be able to bounce back after that. So know and understand that just saying no to hobosexuals is not just a funny quip. It's reality. It's just reality. Don't let them harm your finances. All right, y'all. Join the conversation. Let me know what you think about all this. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.